Hello, Sold viewers. It is April 25th, 2020. This is the Sold Stay at Home series where we speak with some of your favorite artists and show you that they're still out there doing their thing during the pandemic, COVID-19, quarantine, blah, 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 bullshit that we're all dealing with. I'm mad, you're mad, we're all mad, and art's going to help us get through it all. So we're happy to showcase and highlight some things that are going on right now. To support Sold Magazine, please take a look at our Patreon page, patreon.com/Sold Magazine. And here we go with one of the more verbal and outspoken people in the scene, Al Diaz. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank God I'm good. I'm still hanging in there and trying to stay strong and, dealing with this on a daily basis, dude.
Where are
trying
you?
to stay fit, trying to eat right, all that good stuff,
Now you're in your, was it Sunset Park studio?
Right? Yeah, I'm presently, my apartment is on, is closer to Bay Ridge, but still Sunset Park, and the studio is here at 47th. So
I was born on 59th and 14th, not too far.
So that's what, Diker Heights?
Well, borderline, Diker, Bensonhurst, Borough Park. It's on the edge of it.
Right, Borough Park too, right,
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm busy here. I've been coming here regular. I mean, like almost maybe 5 times a week, because I mean it's a mile walk. It's not like I need to depend on public transportation, which is probably one of the more riskier elements between my apartment and the studio. So I walk a lot, and I spend a lot of time here because I work by myself for the most part anyway. So it's just, after a while it gets a little bit, I don't know, it gets old, I guess. But it's nice to see other people. It's nice to talk to other people. But I can, without any interruption, focus here, and it's, in that respect, it is it has its advantage, and only for that reason.
Now
but I've been able to produce quite a bit of work.
Now you've been active as an artist. I think you took a little bit of a break, but active since the 70s, correct?
Yeah, probably before. As a kid, I was very active, but I was a kid, but. I was always surrounded by art,
Did you ever, were you ever in a situation where, like this, where you really couldn't be out there and doing your thing?
Well, I've been in other situations where I was sort of isolated, in my life, like from 96 to 99, I out of any kind of art scene. And I was able to create some, like I was doing altarpieces back then. But I was away from my normal life, for an extended amount of time. I was kind of lonely. So I've been through a period of some sort of isolation, but not complete, like nothing like this insanity. No.
See, I'm a firm believer that, the toughest times are where the best art comes from. Whether it's in an artist's own brain or in society or in the world or things like that. It's adversity that perseverance really, is at its best.
Yeah, I believe so too. I think that extremes will bring out some sort of, really strong response to it. In this case, I feel like I've been, very inspired, not in a happy way, but in a very powerful way. Like this is a very real, like we lost our friend Nick 707 and things like that nature make it that more real, it's, I'm like 61 at this point. So I'm like in that category where I have to be careful. So it all becomes very real, and it's just, that'll inspire you to do something, either to do whatever. It definitely, it puts a flame up your ass, that's for sure.
Now, do you, for me, looking at your work, the lettering, I would think that would be an ideal medium these days to really get your message across, because it doesn't really require any interpretation. your work is literal when it comes to
Well,
that.
I do. I mean, I do mixed medium pieces that involve images as well. But what I show on a regular basis in my social media feed is like Instagram and stuff is my signage, which is just a lot of just messages that are that's the stuff that I think about, the stuff that bothers me, the stuff that I want to share with others immediately. And signage is at this point that's the way I do it. It's my most immediate form, so it's perfect for a stream of consciousness, which is what's like all this stuff is going through my head. There's so much of it. I mean, and then I see films like I forgot the director, but Michael Moore presented this film Planet of the Humans, and that it just so much stuff is coming out at this time, and it's really frightening, and it's I mean, it's an endless stream of stimulus for us, for in terms of as artists to draw from all this like apocalyptic stuff, because it's some scary times, I mean,
Now,
it really is.
think about if it was 100 years ago now during the Spanish flu. How'd you like to be an artist during those times with no technology and no medicine and no anything?
Oh yeah, well there you go. And as a result, but I mean, we do survive. Hopefully we're going to get through this. Hopefully people will become more, I mean, and this is all hopefully, because sometimes I feel, I know I sound like a harbinger of gloom and doom, but when when we consider like how many things are screwed up on with us and in our planet, it's a little frightening. And then we have this on top of it, and it just kind of like exacerbates the whole thing. So it gets really real.
Yeah, you're not a person that I thought ever would have a hard time staying positive. You're always happy.
Well, I'm positive in a sense that I every day I hope that that something is better to come, and I think that people can learn from this. But it's this is getting to into a tight situation here, and people really got to wake up, because this is there's some we have some very, very harsh conditions to deal with here, and it's not just coronavirus.
It's funny with the shortages of certain supplies in food or rationing of food and people stocking up their shelves. I feel like a lot of people have been through that at different stages of their lives, either when they were children or if they were from Depression era parents or grandparents. That hoarding mentality. Your grandmother with 60 jars of sauce in the cabinet doesn't seem so crazy now.
Well, it's funny, but I guess people who have experienced the extreme adversity are always going to be more prepared for this kind of stuff. And there's probably a generation of people who had no clue that something like this could happen. And in a sense, it's a toughening process, and it's a good learning process so that you don't take anything for granted. Because as you can see, that I mean, we've seen growing up, when we grew up, we've seen the capitalist system, showing us examples of why communism is bad. And it's like people in queues with shortages of stuff. Guess what? It didn't take long for us to end up in that same situation, a couple of weeks and boom, it's like, oh, we're in the Ukraine, like standing on queue with, everything is half gone in the market. So it's a huge lesson to be learned for all of us. And like I said, it's a hopefully we're going to get through this, and we're going to be that much stronger and more prepared for something in the future. But it's a real this is a tough lesson to learn. And yes, there's people who have survived hardships that that probably are more mentally, probably more mentally, because physically I don't think so, because they're usually older folks who are equipped to deal with this kind of stress.
Now, let's talk about you specifically. You're someone that, as your career has progressed, you've developed different revenue streams, different products, different areas that you've been working on. Has it gotten harder to finish projects as in work with people now that it's all remote only? I understand sales might be a little slower, but what about creating?
Ronnie, it's actually not. It's in my case. I've been very busy. I've been blessed. I've been very busy. I've managed to make sales, to make sales of things that I've done very that are currently that I during this crisis. I've been asked to get involved with a couple of different benefit projects, which are worthwhile just to do them, because like there's one thing with this organization, 13K, putting out tote bags, and to help feed homeless folks, which I'm totally down with, and I'm doing. But I just finished this lesson plan with how at home, how arts, which is a text-based art lesson plan that I developed. But I've been super busy in terms of, and including selling some work, doing side projects, collaborations. It's insane how, it's like almost I probably need an assistant at this point.
Good
but
for you.
I have been super busy.
That's great. Now, what take a step outside of the Al Diaz aura for a second. I expect as like I was saying, as your career progresses, you have your network, you have your areas, your avenues that you normally go after. Is there anything that was new lately? Maybe something that found you that other artists might be able to, you couldn't necessarily relate to your breadth of work, but might be able to relate to a hustle that just came about?
Well, new for me was the thing doing this lesson plan with Hal, because this is an education thing. So for me, luckily, my girlfriend is a teacher, and I have friends around me to help me. So I had to learn how to put together a lesson plan. But there is, I see that there's opportunities in education for artists. We could do like workshop training and stuff like that. And that's a skill, a very specific skill that has to be learned, and there's technique and all that stuff. So it's always great to be able to learn something, because I think once you stop learning, it's like, it's over, right? So that's one thing. And then just being willing to do work for benefit causes, for to help other people, because at this point I'm not like hurting for money, because I've been able to sell work. I'm not rich, but I make a decent living from making art. And so to do a benefit project is it's actually, it's enriching to me to be able to do, it's not like doing a Barbie doll or something. Did you see the Barbie doll?
Well, I think as long as, well, it's the same old Barbie doll might be interesting. There's some hairy legs, I guess, but
yeah. Anyway, we'll leave that out of the conversation. But that's what I mean. It's to to think further than one's own like pocket.
Well, I think a lot of your work is prophetic. You're speaking the voice of the people. You're not only speaking your own opinion. It's not a whim. You're talking existential topics, societal topics. So like now, I think would be you'd be chomping at the bit to really put a series out or something about this. No?
Well, I did. I didn't yet, but I have been writing so much stuff. It's like I said, it's because of the condition that we're this crisis, because of our surroundings. I don't have to think that much. It's almost like a conduit thing, where it's coming through, and then I just keep seeing other, like I mentioned, like the film that Michael Moore presented, the Planet of the Humans thing, and just from that, I got so angry and so like it was disgusted, and there was just so much stuff that I reinterpret, because what I do is I listen to things and I think of how could I say that with my constrained alphabet, you know, because that's how, I mean, at this point, that's the way you know, that's my process. So there's just it's so like, yeah, it's a time where it's easier for me to produce because there is so much material to work with.
Let's talk about that for a second. You and I think it was, I don't know if it was the moniker chat we had or the one-on-one for the In the Spray Room podcast that we did with you, but you described the letters in the alphabet that you are without and how you have to edit the work or the words to fit those letters.
Yeah, I think that was at your place at
Yep.
the first time we did a podcast. Yeah, but it's okay. So there's no H, no K, no X, no Y, and no V. Yeah, so I have to become a kind of a thesaurus. Sometimes I actually, you know, go right to my phone and use it, you know, and use an actual, you know, thesaurus app or dictionary app. But you start doing that automatically. I mean, because it's a you know, it's like you do anything. It's like if you're someone who has, you ever watch somebody like a guy with like a missing hand, but he's got a wrist, and he can attach a drumstick to it, and he develops an incredible technique because he's working with a limitation, but he perfects that. So that's what that's what happens in your mind. It becomes you just learn how to you hone it, and you just make it work for you. It's like a one-legged race.
So you don't really ever have to edit. You're where you are to begin with because
Well, I edit. I do edit. I actually do edit. Sometimes I get verbose, and I'm like, oh, what am I saying? What do I need? I have a habit of using 2 adjectives instead of just 1. So I have to. I do edit. Yes. And sometimes some of these narratives can get really long, and I'm like, this will take me a month to cut. So I do edit, but to start off, it's always better to start off with more and whittle it down.
now,
I think.
how are you eating during the lockdown? You eating better or worse?
I'm eating really well. I'm watching what in terms of like not eating like food that's just, you know, frivolous, that doesn't, that zero, like what do they call it, vacant calories or whatever, empty calories. Yep. I've been a lot, and then exercising too, you know. But I mean, I do stay fit, but it's I've been more conscious of it and less junk. Absolutely less junk.
Do you miss boxing? I'm sure the guys at Overthrow miss
I don't
you.
box really. I mean, I'm friends with the boxing gym. I do calisthenics. But I go, and there's a park about 3 blocks from my house that had pull-up bars and stuff like that. So I stay. I just was there earlier with some young guys that one guy who I know from the area for years from the gyms and stuff like that. But calisthenics is really what I'm crazy about.
Now, I always thought of you straight out of the Simon and Garfunkel song. You know, the words of the prophets are written on the subway walls.
Yeah, that's a great line, and it's one of those things that's always in my head, and yeah, I can totally relate to it. Yes, absolutely.
Now, what's the message that you want to be getting out there now? Let's say you had your free reign of the subways right now. What are you telling people to run? You telling people to fight back?
Fight back. I mean, it's like there's so much to fight against. You know, it's like that. But the powers that be are like. I mean, we really need to get our act together, because our existence is being threatened right now. Dude, what's going on with like, I mean, around the world. I saw some stuff that it's just so disappointing to think that man is such a short-minded creature, that, you know, and that everything's run by corporations, billionaires, and greed. And guess, you know, and the 99%, it's a percentile, suffers, you know, while very few make decisions, and we get screwed, and our planet is in grave danger. And there's so much big stuff, you know. It's not even like, like our personal problem. I mean, of course, you know, it's all valid, but the world is, you know, we have some serious, really bad stuff going on with, you know, ecological issues, political issues, our personal freedoms, et cetera, and we need to really wake up, man, because it's like, I mean, it's going to get really ugly at this point. You know, and which is really cynical, but sometimes I say, damn, I'm glad that I'm like, I was born when I was born, and that I'm 60 plus, because at this point it looks so bleak. You know, I mean, the world is, the condition of the planet is so bleak. And
well, I think we've proven that the humans are the virus at this point. With
of course,
you,
of course. That I had written. You know, it's funny because I had written something about we are. I wrote it in my notes to make a sign, and I actually might even do that after I finish this conversation with you. Something about a biomenace. Man is a biomenace, you know, of the biggest or the worst biomenace, because we produce we create our own problems. You know.
Well, you know, it's funny because there's no way that the average lockdown person in this world is going to want to stay in their house longer than they have to, including myself. But if we collectively look at the way that nature is rebounding in despite of us, with animals coming back and clearer waters and less pollution and better air quality and, you know, 10 other things that, you know, it's all because we just can't stay in our house instead of burning fossil fuels all around the planet. It's really arrogant. It's really disgusting when you think of it, that, oh, well, the humans stay inside, 60% of humans stay inside for a couple of weeks and the earth is better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, nature, I don't think that nature requires man. I mean, that the rest of we need it. It doesn't really need us, you know. I don't think we're that much of an element in terms. First of all, we've proven to be a bad team player with nature, you know. I mean, in the worst kind of way, in the worst sort of way. You know, like I mean, we don't even want to start a list of that because it's just it's endless. But deforestation is one that immediately comes to mind, and it's brutal. Dude, I saw this thing where it must be Thailand, because there were orangutans. It was, I almost cried when I saw this like roasted orangutan. It was disturbing to the point of where it's like you have to question, like, you know, what is wrong with us? You know, what is wrong with us? You know?
Well, let's get back to the studio. I don't know if we're going to solve any world problems on this call. As much
No, we're not.
I'd like to, but how about the environment while you're working? What are you listening to?
Oh, I put my iPod on shuffle, and right now I have Nick Cave and singing about the down in the lime tree arbor. But before that, it was probably like New Order or something. I you know, and then you'll hear Miles Davis or something, and Eddie Palmieri. It's the most eclectic mix that you could possibly listen, you know, and then reggae, you know, it's just everything. I listen to everything.
Well, let's go back into Al Diaz mentor mode. What advice would you give to some younger artists today that are, you know, struggling to find their style, who they are, what their medium is going to be, and things like that, in a time like this? How do you still focus during this crazy epidemic?
Well, it's for me, because of, I guess it's habits and stuff like that. It's easy for me to focus. It's for me personally. So I'm not saying that that's automatically should apply to everyone. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, that the isolation and extra time, not that you have extra time, but time, you know, that's on your own, that you're by yourself, should allow you time to concentrate on just doing whatever, you know, making stuff, whatever. And it's a question of continuing the process for over, you know, and if you fail this time, you know, do it again or do something different, or just keep doing it. It's just,
Right.
it's about consistency, like anything, no matter what you do, you know, it's consistent. I mean, I remember like back when I was playing music in the 80s, we were like I played with a few bands who were in the scene with Sonic Youth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sonic Youth, they were playing all these small places, but those people, you know, and this is in the early 80s, and they was just like, you know, like just another downtown band. And like by the 90s, they became huge because Thurston, and they just kept doing it. They just kept grinding and grinding. And then all of a sudden on YouTube, I mean, on MTV, I'm like, oh shit, it's fucking Sonic.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they made the grade. And it was due to, you know, is just keep doing it until you get it right. And it's just, you know, that's all one of my big pieces of advice is to, you know, continue. And it's important that you develop your own voice, you know, because there's, you know, everybody, you know, is like focused on Basquiat or Andy Warhol or these, you know, heroes from the past, and you're not that person. We are not in that era. This is not the 80s, man. This is 2020, and we got Corona.
It's a very interesting time, and you know, here at Sold, we just want to, you know, just show everybody out there that life is continuing and art is continuing and the scene is going on around them. You know, we may not be able to catch up with everybody in a gallery like we would and give everybody a pound.
I know, it's kind of I really miss that dynamic because I mean, I do love the social aspect of it. It's very stimulating, and it's nice. It's a really warm thing to be able to, you know, to hang out with people. And that's definitely, you know, it's you know, that's lacking right now. It's a missing factor, but it does allow us, it does on the positive, it does give us time to create a body of work that we are, you know, willing to show and be proud of, or, you know, or excited to show.
Well, we can't wait to see it, and we can't wait to see your work for many years to come, Al. Thank you very much for your time today. This was great. I hope some people look at the work that you're doing and your positive attitude about negative topics and how they can channel that into their own work. I think it's great.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. It's always a pleasure talking to you. I'd love to give you and Erica a piece, and I can come by anytime during the week and drop it off.
That would be amazing. Before we let you go, Al, please let everybody know, the viewers know where they can find you online, what your Instagram.
Oh, okay. My website is al-diaz.com, and Instagram is lowercase Albert_Diaz1. Instagram.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. We'll see you around, Al, and have a great day, man.
All right. You too, Ronnie. It's a pleasure.